Hi, I'm Robert Starling and I live in Riverton, Utah. I was born in the church, but my mother and her family were converts in the 1940s. My mother and her mother and sister joined the church first, and then a year or so later, my grandfather was taught the gospel by one of the lady missionaries who were serving during World War II, because at that time the young men were either drafted or serving in the military. And so Naomi, I can't remember her maiden name. When she married, her name was Naomi Chipman. But she taught my grandfather, Jackson David Canaan Owens, the gospel. And he was a kind of a hard case. He was an interesting guy. I remember hearing the story that one time when my mother and my aunt were, and my mother and my grandmother were at church, he got a bug in his ear for some reason and came down and came to the church meeting with a pistol in his hand and said, "We're going home." I don't remember all the details to it, but he was kind of a hard case. But he did join the church, and then when my mom and dad got married in 1944, and 2 years later, I was born in January of 46. Then in September 46, my grandfather and grandmother and my mom and dad and I drove from Columbus, Georgia to Salt Lake City, where my parents were sealed in the temple and I was sealed to them. And that's now Naomi, who, as I said, had taught my grandfather the gospel, turned out to be a lifelong friend of our family. I remember she used to send Christmas presents every year when I was a kid. And then when I received my mission call and went to be endowed in the Salt Lake Temple, it was Naomi and her husband who accompanied me, escorted me through the Salt Lake Temple for the first time. And then in June of 1971, my wife and I were married in the Salt Lake Temple. That's the conversion story of our family.